A map rests on a stone, its lines familiar yet incomplete, inviting attention rather than command. The plan feels steady, like a heartbeat, offering direction while leaving room for the unknown that breathes beyond its edges. There is comfort in structure, and also a recognition that maps cannot hold every turn or sudden wind. When the mind clings only to ink and edges, the world beyond those lines becomes a mute possibility. The true beginning is not the paper, but the willingness to step where ink cannot reach. This willingness offers a quieter courage than rigid certainty. A first breath of morning lifts the mist and reveals texture the map could not name. There is an easy rhythm to noticing, the color of light, the weight of silence, the small motion of a leaf deciding. Each inhalation dissolves an assumption, each exhalation clears space for what's unplanned. The path becomes less about a destination and more a conversation between step and landscape. Ease is not surrender, but attention turned toward the present, where adventure quietly begins. This breath is an invitation to trust senses over schedules. Plans can feel like a tightrope stretched between two known points, taut and precise, asking for careful balance. Yet tightropes sometimes sway under unexpected wind and reveal a new horizon where the rope ends. Learning to walk that rope requires steadiness and an ability to listen to the subtle shifts beneath footfall. When plans begin to bend, the body remembers other ways to move: curved steps, small pauses, and sideways pivots that keep forward intent intact. There is artistry in adapting, a soft skill that the map rarely teaches. The real skill is to remain open when the structure changes shape. Beyond a ledger of checkboxes and timelines, something restless waits, an alertness that feels like wind on the neck. The ledger can be useful, yet the soul that seeks meaning looks for more than completion. Tasks are signposts, but not the landscape itself. The journey asks for curiosity rather than mere accomplishment. When the eyes lift from lists, discovery appears in small textures. A stream's hush, a cedar's scent, a hidden valley of possibility. Adventure begins when the ledger loosens its grip and imagination widens. This loosening is not chaotic. It is the clearing that allows new direction. Plans will sometimes dissolve like ink through wet paper, and this unraveling can feel unsettling and strangely generous. The lines that once seemed decisive unhook themselves and fall away, revealing broader shapes underneath. In that blankness, there is less pressure to be right and more room to notice what really matters. Without the tight borders, creative paths emerge with soft edges and surprising color. Trust quietly grows when control relaxes, and clarity arrives in unexpected forms. This unraveling is less loss and more reconfiguration of purpose. Surrender here is not defeat, but a deliberate softening of hands that once gripped the wheel hard. It is a practice. Release the need to manage every breeze and learn to steer with feeling rather than force. When the body relaxes, intuition speaks in quieter tones that become trustworthy companions. There is a tenderness in letting go, an opening where curiosity can step through without fear. The courage is subtle, seen in the willingness to accept what arrives rather than resenting what departs. Soft surrender lights a path that plans could not draft. An open horizon appears where expectation loosens and the eye can finally travel unconfined. New possibilities hover like slow clouds, each one carrying a different lesson or doorway. This expanse calls for patient attention habits of noticing that train the inner eye to read subtle signs. The unknown becomes less a threat and more an invitation, a field for small experiments in courage. When expectation falls away, the horizon is generous and wide, offering many valid directions. Choosing among them becomes an act of conscious curiosity. Life often moves like a current, sometimes steady, sometimes swift, mostly carrying what must be met. Trusting that current is a practice of posture, open shoulders, steady breath, attentive gaze. It asks for small commitments, a next step, a willing pause, a careful recalibration. These moves keep alignment with inner values, turning surprise into useful feedback instead of threat. There is wisdom in riding currents with presence rather than resisting with anxiety. From that posture, each bend in the river becomes learning rather than loss. Mystery sends a low, patient call that does not demand but invites the heart toward discovery. When curiosity answers, the world rearranges itself into an unfolding lesson rather than a problem to solve. The voice inside that leans into wonder finds more clarity than the one that clings to certainty. This call is a whisper and a wind combined, coaxing small steps that feel like true movement. Each step taken toward mystery reveals new textures, sound, scent, and light that maps never predicted. Embracing this call cultivates a brave, pliant spirit. Adventure grows by small, deliberate steps rather than giant leaps that risk breaking rhythm. Each modest choice becomes a compass needle, pointing toward the next manageable action and honoring limits while expanding capacity. There is a quiet mastery in repeatable, patient motion, less flashy and more enduring. These steps gather experience like pebbles, forming a path that is stable because it was built attentively. The practice transforms fear into steady curiosity and converts uncertainty into skilled response. Momentum accrues in tiny, faithful increments. The earth and sky are generous teachers when attention sharpens. They speak in season, texture, and rhythm rather than in clear instructions. Listening becomes a discipline, noticing how wind hangs in a valley, how light bends through leaves, the small pattern that suggests a safer route. This listening rewires judgment into discernment, a skill that balances heart with reason. It invites humility, the recognition that wisdom often comes from patience and presence rather than cleverness. As senses refine, choices become wiser with less struggle. The terrain begins to guide rather than threaten. Courage here wears a quiet coat. It shows up as curiosity that keeps asking what if with calm steadiness. This form of bravery does not deny fear, but walks beside it, turning alarm into useful information. Curiosity gives permission for experiments that are both safe and revealing, creating a laboratory of living where meaning is discovered rather than forced. Each question asked opens a door, and each answer a mirror for inner truth. Courageous curiosity reshapes the landscape into a teacher rather than an enemy. From this stance, adventure deepens into growth. Returning is not going back to exactly where the journey began, but carrying new bearings that quietly shift perspective. The path home feels familiar, yet each step reveals subtle differences because the traveler has changed. New bearings are small changes in orientation, less about direction and more about inner alignment. These adjustments are practical gifts, clearer priorities, kinder patience, and sharper attention to what truly sustains. They bring the kind of confidence that is calm rather than brash. This steady confidence becomes the true compass for what comes next. Every unexpected turn yields a harvest, lessons gathered like seeds and stored for future seasons. The harvest is not trophies, but refined instincts and small practices that fit daily life. These lessons sit quietly in the body and return as ease in decision-making and gentleness when plans unravel again. A mindful tending keeps them useful, journaling, slow reflection, and sharing with others who listen. Such tending ensures that experience becomes wisdom rather than mere memory. Harvested lessons feed the next journey with richer soil. Quiet confidence is a companion born from repeated practice, not sudden triumphs, and it carries less ego and more clarity. It appears as a steady center that trusts resilience and is willing to be vulnerable without collapsing. This confidence rests on embodied knowledge, what the body remembers about moving through uncertainty. When plans shift again, the quiet confidence acts as a stabilizer, allowing thoughtful adaptation rather than reactive fear. It is an inner home that supports impermanence. From this place, gentleness towards self and others naturally follows. The end of one journey is a threshold for the next. Wandering continues, but with new eyes and kinder hands. The world remains full of invitations, and the practice is to meet them with both discernment and openness. Each return becomes a rehearsal for future departures, rehearsing the art of starting simply and bravely again. There is joy in ongoing curiosity and humility in knowing that maps will change, and so will the traveler. The adventure truly begins where plans end, because presence and courage have become daily companions. This continued wander is both rite and remedy.